Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who understand that there's more to entrepreneurship than finding the latest flash-in-the-pan strategies, who understand that in order to build your empire, you need a solid foundation. I wholeheartedly believe that entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you can be on, and it's my mission to help you make that journey easier. In this show, I bring together the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist and mindset coach behind this show, and you're listening to the Wired for Success podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast. My guest today is Dr. Whitehouse. She's an author, a Ph.D. scientist turned life alchemist, FRSA, and confidence expert. Above all, she's a passionate empowerer of women dedicated to helping them achieve their full potential by releasing conditioning and traumas that undermine their success and damage their well-being. And I have invited Anne because I love the fact that both of us share a very similar path that led us to leave academia behind and start a business to help others overcome their perceived limitations. So we are pretty much on the same mission. And now I'm curious to learn more about Anne's experiences and what made her choose this path, and also about the methods that she is using to empower other women. So welcome, Anne, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better and to hear your story.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. It's going to be great.
Yes, thank you so much for being on my show today. So Annie, let's dive straight into your story. So what made you leave academia behind and start your own business to empower other women?
Well, it's a long story. I will give you the short version. So basically, I started out as what you call a high-flying academic, Cambridge PhD, postdoctoral research fellowship, prizes, and I got what you'd call my dream job, a lecturer in mechanics of materials in an engineering department at the age of just 26. And I went in with all of these high ideals and dreams, and I was going to be a role model. I was going to be an inspiration to the very few women on the course, showing them that they could succeed in this male-dominated world without losing their femininity, without turning themselves into sort of pseudo-men, that it was totally possible. So I got there, and then it literally was as if the rug was pulled out from under me. My confidence evaporated, my stress skyrocketed, and this really deteriorated into, nowadays you'd call it imposter syndrome, but we didn't know that phrase back then. That's what it was. A very high stress, insomnia. I got more and more illnesses, and this eventually ended up after 6 years as what I call a spectacular burnout and chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
So I ended up going from the top of my game to literally being an invalid, being unable to stand up because I was so weak. And the conventional doctors couldn't do anything for me. They just said goodbye and good luck. Yes, you have chronic fatigue syndrome. Yes, you've burnt out. We can't help you. Off you go. That's literally what I got. So the question was I going to accept that was it? At the time I was about 30. Or was I going to do something about it? So literally this took me into, in fact, the first key, I guess, shift in mindset. And I remember lying on the sofa, and I wanted to write on a birthday card, and I could not lift my arm to pick up the pen. I was that weak. And in my head, it was suddenly, I'm not prepared to allow this to be my life. I'm only 30. It can't be that this is now what I have after all my years of work and everything else. I just wasn't prepared to accept it. So I just made a choice. I literally made a choice that was like a switch in my head. And it went from believing what I'd been told, that I would have this forever, I'd have to manage it, my career was over, etc. I said, no, there is a solution. I believe there's a solution. I'm going to find it. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I have to do. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if I have to go into completely new territory that is way out of my comfort zone. That's not important. I believe the solution exists and I'm going to find it. And that opened up the possibilities.
Right.
And from that time, books and people and things began to come into my consciousness, and I started on my journey to get my life back. Now, at the time, I was really only thinking, I want to feel better. I want my life back, I want my health back. But very, very quickly, it took me into a journey into the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And just because I was no longer officially a scientist, still got my scientific brain, right? So I was, from day one, I was analysing. And if you looked at it on the surface, there was absolutely no logical reason for me to have reacted the way that I had.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. I could do the job just fine. I was competent. I enjoyed the lecturing. I loved the teaching. And I was good at the research. I could do everything. But something was triggering this enormous stress. And on the surface, the answer was not there. So it had to be somewhere else. So I went into the subconscious levels. And that is when, that's when the discovery started to come. So basically to cut to the other angle of your question, on this journey to get my life back, I went straight for the trainings and then helping other people. It just kind of happened. I'm not the person to sit there and have sessions. I was immediately into practitioner training and then teacher training. And by the time I got my life back, I found that I had a business. And I didn't want to go back to science because what happens, this pattern of high achieving women in particular being undermined with this high stress and it becoming a burnout, it's a pattern that I saw over and over and over again. And when it's one person, when it was just me, it was just, this has happened to me. How can I sort it out? But when you've seen it 20, 30, 50 times in all different professions, that's not an individual, that's a phenomenon. And when there's a common pattern, there's a common root, and there's a common root, there's a solution that you can find and analyze. And that is what I've literally spent 20 years doing.
Wow.
So what I found in the subconscious was really completely astonishing. And it's basically, we have like an operating system, which is still deeply rooted in the past. And when you think about it, it makes sense because women have been limited in what we've been allowed to do and be and have, and how much we've been allowed to shine for millennia. And then suddenly, in the space of 2 generations, it all changes. So on the surface, we have the opportunity, we have the freedom. And of course, we have the motivation and the abilities, right? So off we go into life. But the subtle energies, the subconscious programming and the patterning, both in all of our subconscious minds and in our institutions, that's still running the patriarchal programs of the past. So a woman who is breaking all those barriers, as I was, we're going to get 2 sets of being undermined. Our own subconscious has all of that stuff in it. And just to be clear, I was totally brought up with equal opportunities. I have a younger brother, but I was, my parents were all for, yes, be a scientist, get out there, There's nothing about what I should be doing as a woman. No, I had all the freedom I could possibly imagine. And on the surface, from my childhood and those formative years, totally encouraged to do what I did. But my subconscious was still running those old programs. A woman's place is in the home, and a woman shouldn't be having authority, especially over men, and a woman shouldn't be a scientist, and I shouldn't having a Ph.D, and I shouldn't all this, that, and the other, which is causing a conflict between your conscious desires and goals and this hidden undercurrent. And then, of course, you get the same thing from the world. You get all the subliminal messages, it's people's attitudes, the unconscious bias, the way they give, they will give the precedence to my student because he's male and I'm the one in authority, or you answer the phone and, oh, can I speak to Dr. Whitehouse, please? And I say, yes, speaking. And they say, oh, thinking I was the secretary because I'm female. And it's not 1 or 2 things, it's over and over and over and over again, millions and millions of times. And what that does, it gives you this message: no, you're not allowed here, forbidden, you're not good enough, you don't fit the benchmark, you don't fit our default, it undermines over and over again. So that totally explains why I started off confident, and over time it just ate away, it's undermined me from underneath. And that rug being pulled out feeling was literally, it was being pulled out because I was being undermined by this constant bombardment of negative messaging. So that's what happens to us. So the trick is, just knowing it consciously is the first step. But while our subconscious is still giving us those messages, you're not allowed here, you're going to be punished, you're breaking all the rules of patriarchy and all of this stuff. Just knowing it is a step forward, because you can say, well, for heaven's sake, this is the 21st century, it's obsolete. But while your subconscious is still holding that, it's going to be triggering the stress, which will provide that. So you have to unlock yourself from that, as well as understanding consciously what's happening. So that has basically become my life's work.
Yeah, I mean, I totally relate to that story, because I've had quite similar experiences with the department's old boys club, and how they like to use their position of, superiority and power to intimidate everyone who didn't conform 100% to their rules. Exactly. They were playing the game. And I'm not even sure they were aware of that behavior. It was just so common and so widely accepted that nobody ever questioned it. So it was that's exactly what it was, right? So it's this, either you thrive or you go under. So just play along, or you have to leave. So it was definitely something that also crushed my confidence, and it intensified my fear of failure, which is really sad. Because if you experience that, and I experienced that, how many other women are out there experiencing the experience?
Many women. And I've worked with, obviously we were both scientists, we're both academics, but I've worked with women who are in law, in finance, in industry, politicians, medics, any woman who is breaking the boundaries, who is not conforming to the old role models, even though there are officially the equal opportunities policies, and we have that opportunity, and we've the first women in history to have these things, we are not being supported by what's underneath. Let me share very quickly that's something that happened to me. So I'd been invited by a very well-known aerospace company that I will not name to do some collaborative experiments, and I was there with my technician to present the ideas. So I turned up, and you know how this is. The female receptionist was the only woman I saw. And there we are in this meeting, and I'm at the overhead projector because it's the days before PowerPoint and laptops. So I've got my overheads, right, my transparencies, and so I'm giving this presentation. And I'm a confident public speaker. I spoke at the Royal Society, international conferences. It's not that I'm nervous at speaking. I was there. I was mid-presentation, and one of the guys I was speaking to, he started talking to my technician, and they started having this conversation. And all the other men joined in, and I'm standing there, literally, I'd say like a lemon, unable to do anything or open my mouth. And this is the thing. I don't think they didn't really notice what they'd done. I was the invited expert, for heaven's sake. But something in their programming gave me so little credibility that they didn't notice that I was standing there for literally over an hour. And eventually I just sat down. It was the most humiliating experience of my life. And when I share this with people, other women say, yes, I had something like that. I had something like that. Yeah. And so why is that? And there's something else that I'd love to point out here. I think now I felt like I should have said, excuse me, do you mind? Please wait till the end. But when they treated me like that, it triggered something in me that made everything shut down, and I couldn't open my mouth. They had taken away my voice, and they'd taken away my power by treating me like that. And I've never forgotten how horrendous that was, to be, literally treated as nothing in a situation where I actually, was the expert. Yeah. And it's more than, you say it's sad, it's more than sad. It is so wrong. But I don't believe they were doing it on purpose. It was an automatic program they were running. I was just a young woman. I don't know how old I was at the time, about 28 or so, and they just I didn't look right? I didn't look like all of them. I was not one of them. They just ignored me. They just disregarded me. And so this is what we are up against. And then to say, oh, what, you're making a fuss about nothing. You're allowed to be here now. What's your problem? There's a big problem when we are treated like that.
Yeah, it is. And I'm really glad we can bring more awareness to this problem so that we can hopefully find a way to improve things for future generations of women in academia, because
exactly,
it needs to change. Now, once you'd left academia and you left university behind, what would you say was your biggest struggle when you started on this other path and you created your own business? And how did you overcome those challenges, those struggles?
Well, as I say, initially I just found myself with a business.
Yeah, okay.
I never planned it. But of course, then it becomes, well, I have to, if I'm going to help the people I want to help, if I'm going to get this knowledge out there, then obviously I need to be more visible. I need to be talking about these things. I need to be out on social media. And that came a little bit later because social media wasn't really a thing when I first started. But it's all about being in that place of being visible and being heard and feeling safe doing it.
Yeah,
and this is absolutely huge, as you know. And this again leads us back into all of this subconscious programming. And yeah, obviously my speciality is working with women, but I have actually worked with a lot of men over the years as well, because I started off doing what I called life alchemy and transforming the life challenges and helping people come out of that and make something really positive from it. So I do have a lot of experience with men too. So, but what happens is that when we are putting ourselves out there, and I have to say women particularly, because of all these programmings, we are again breaking all these forbidden rules. So when we start to step into that role, we are totally having to take on a leadership authority voice and stance. And then what we do is we get all these messages of, you're not safe, you're going to be attacked. And this is the thing, women have got this huge history of powerful women are persecuted and destroyed and put to death. It's enormous. It's in our group consciousness, in our heritage, and it sits in everybody. And when you put yourself into that visible position, it begins to trigger all of those fears. So, excuse me, you find people, take a certain point, and then something triggers. You don't realize what it is, but it's like this wall, and you begin to pull back, or suddenly you're procrastinating, or you're feeling overwhelmed. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that you haven't got the time. It's that your subconscious is saying you're not safe in this space. So it's addressing all of that is absolutely key. Because again, you see the same thing it's a different guise, but when you are trying to get out there and expand your business, and even more so now that it is all online, and of course the audience is the world, it's huge. And something goes on online, it's there forever. You can't take it back. All these things are going to trigger even more. You're going to be in danger for doing this. Not you're going to be in danger because someone's going to put something nasty on your feed, on your timeline or whatever, but because your subconscious says, actually, you're going to die for this. And that is exactly what I find, that the subconscious programs are not up to date. They don't know what the truth is of our world. It's rooted in the past, and it literally is saying you're in danger of your life by doing this. And that's why people get so stuck, because they don't realize what's triggering under the surface. They don't know how to get past it, and so then they pull back. And I've seen this again and again and again. People who have fantastic gifts to offer the world, but they can't get past these visibility blocks. So that is a challenge. It was a huge challenge for me, because it's all the same thing. Just as I was forbidden from being an academic and an authority, I was also forbidden from being a leader of a business. All those things saying, "Oh, not for you. You're not allowed. You're not allowed." So that then takes us into we have to address the inner game. It's the only way. If you don't, you are going to either get nowhere, or you're going to push yourself, but the inner conflict will create stress off the scale, and something will break. maybe it's your health, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's complete and utter burnout, or all of them. You've got to address that in the game, and that's understanding what's really happening under the surface, what your subconscious is really telling you, and it's got nothing to do with your actual life. Trust me on that. And taking the action to free yourself from that, so that it then is supporting you being out there, and you can feel actually safe, and addressing, doing what you're meant to do in the world. And so it's also linked to this "I'm not good enough" and the imposter. And we're all so familiar with this. Especially, again, I'd say especially women. We want to do something in the world, build our business, but then we get that, who am I to think I'm good enough? Who am I to put myself out there when, because it's saying I'm maybe better than other people or whatever. This is a smokescreen. And this is one thing I've looked at in great detail. If someone feels that, it's never because they're not good enough. It's because their subconscious is saying you are forbidden from being in that position. So it's going to create reasons to explain why you can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's never taking it on face value. And one of my big messages is you are more than good enough. You feel not good enough because of this undercurrent that you're getting, this undercurrent that poisons what your intentions by saying you're forbidden, you're in danger.
Absolutely, because those subconscious messages, well, the subconscious is really just about survival, right? It's not concerned with your striving. So it's not about striving. It's not about enjoying life. It's really just to help you survive. So whenever something comes up that doesn't feel safe, it will block you because it wants to protect you. And that's what people have to understand. It's not that there's some kind of evil inside of them that tries to, block them from getting to their dream.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is sometimes something that people misunderstand about that, because they get angry at themselves because they just can't, take the next step, or just can't push themselves to do the things they want to do. But they need to understand that it's not something evil inside of them. It's a protective force, if you will.
Totally. So we've got the two factors. They've got, like you say, there's a survival. I'm going to die if I do this, and then the other big thing is the belonging. If I stop behaving like people around me, if I am suddenly successful and my family are less successful, I won't belong anymore. I'm going to stand out, and that's sort of tall poppy sort of syndrome. As soon as you stand out, you become a target. You're no longer loved. Again, this is another angle of the survival. We need to be part of the group to survive. This is how humans have survived. We cooperate in groups. We are not like the lone wolf, right? Exactly. So those two things, if the safety or the belonging are threatened, then the doors come down and the subconscious says, no way, you are not doing that.
Exactly.
Every time.
So what would you say, what do you like most about the work that you are doing right now?
Oh, what do I like most about it? It's seeing the transformation. There are two angles. I worked so hard for my scientific career, and the whole thing was taken away from me because this whole process, this whole phenomenon undermined me. And I've spent 2 decades working out how we can free ourselves from that. And obviously I wanted to get my life back, but what I really wanted was, this shouldn't be happening to women. And now I know how we can stop it happening. If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, that is fantastic. But also, I want the women not to have to leave their careers in the first place. If you want to be, if you want to be a barrister, you want to be a politician, if you want to be a consultant in a hospital, you have a right to do that without this undermining you and pulling you down. And then if you are there creating your business, you deserve to get what it is that you're offering out into the world and make a difference without all this pulling you back. And so being able to get people the tools to free themselves from that. And it's like, it messed things up for me, but at the same time, it was an enormous gift, because the combination of the kind of brain I've got and what happened, it makes me quite unusual, because I went into this holistic world but yet I went in very much as the scientist. So I was very unusual, that I was analysing and looking for the patterns and the roots and how I could fix this, and if I change that parameter, what happens to this? It's a very scientific way of thinking. And so putting those two things together gave the solution here, and that's basically what I've put together in my book. The Pull Back Your Power, which is this way of us getting ourselves out of that, that subconscious trap, and allowing us to then to live according to what our rights and abilities are here and now, not what some ancient program is telling us from 200 years ago. Right?
Yeah, I love that. It's something that I've found to be true for me as well. I was still thinking with the analytical part of my brain, or like the way a scientist would think. So what's going on here? What's causing this? How can we fix that? But it also added this intuitive dimension where you start to read people, you start to feel where problems are coming from, and it's just bringing these two things, these two worlds together. What makes it so special, right?
Definitely.
So for all our listeners out there who are currently struggling with the low confidence, with the self-doubt, the perfectionism, or the imposter syndrome, could you share some of your favorite tips, like actionable steps they can take for overcoming those blocks?
Right. So the first thing is the key awareness. You feel this way not because you aren't good enough, not because you're not competent, not because you can't do it. You feel this way because you're getting a negative message, and you haven't been aware of it. It's just been kind of whispering like a poison. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. And that is what's been undermining you, not your abilities. So when you understand that, it's like, oh my goodness, it's telling me I can't do this because I'm a woman. How ridiculous. Am I going to take notice of that? That awareness. Whereas before it was, oh my goodness, I don't feel confident. Maybe I can't do it. You see the difference. Absolutely. Just that awareness. And that is the first step. That is really, really key. But you still have to free yourself from what's going on underneath. So a really quick way, and it's my key step really. There's all the big programming stuff, but the really key thing is the pulling back your power. So I can explain this really quickly. If your subconscious believes you're in danger, it is making you behave like the prey. So think you're like the antelope on the African plain, and you've got to be so aware that the lion might come from any direction, anytime, it's going to kill you. So all your attention is out there looking for that danger. And that energetically puts your power over there. You've given your power to the perceived danger. Yeah. And when that happens, that is basically triggering you in fight or flight. You are powerless to do anything. You can only react. And that's what happens to us when we're getting these "you're in danger" messages. And that's why the chronic stress builds up and up and up. We don't realize it's happening. It's under the surface. But that's what's happening. We've gone into the chronic fight or flight because our subconscious thinks we are the prey. So the key thing is we need to take our focus off the danger and bring it back to ourselves. Now that's easier said than done, because danger, we're locked, like rabbit in the headlights. Yeah. So this is the exercise that I teach people to do. So you imagine that there is a wire attached from your chest to the perceived danger. It might be a colleague, it might be a presentation, it might be a situation, it might be a group of people in a meeting, whatever it is. But you imagine a wire between you and them. And there's a ball threaded on the wire, kind of a big ball. I usually say imagine it's brightly coloured, so you can really kind of get your mind onto it. And at the moment, they have the ball, and that is your power. And what you need to do is to reach out in your mind's eye, grab the ball and pull it back. And you've got to really pull, because there's resistance. And the process of pulling down the wire and that imagining that resistance unlocks your attention from that danger. So you bring it back, you pull it until this ball is literally inside your chest. And then you put all your attention, all your mental focus, your mind's eye onto that ball, imagining the colours, imagining if it's a ball of light or whatever, and you focus and focus and focus on it. And immediately you do that, the perceived danger begins to deflate, and your power begins to go up. And the beautiful thing is that when you do this, and I've seen this in so many people, you can test them straight afterwards, and all the beliefs of the I'm not good enough, I'm in danger, etc., they kind of evaporate away, because as soon as your power is back, your subconscious switches out of the fight or flight, relaxes, and it looks around and thinks, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not going to be burnt at the stake. There's no one with a noose. You know, I'm actually entitled to be here, and everything calms down, your confidence goes up and your stress goes down. So when I first started doing this, I found that as soon as I pulled my power in, I would lose it almost immediately, because I'd never had that state ever in my life before. I'd been living my whole life without realizing it, running on empty, and nearly everybody does. But I found that by training myself, and as you know, if you do something regularly over, say 2 or 3 weeks, you are going to begin to train your mind to work in a different way, making it those new neural pathways and things. So I found that after a couple of weeks of doing this, I was holding the power much, much better. And something would happen, I would feel it going, I would pull it back in again, and I was shifting the amount of power I was holding in my daily life. And the proof of the pudding was I just discovered all of this, and I went to a workshop for entrepreneurs, and it was deeply out of my comfort zone. I would have been in the past, I'd be the woman in the corner playing with my coffee spoon, trying not to catch anybody's eye, you know. That's literally who I was. But I thought, no, I'm not going to make an excuse to not go. I'm going to go. So I pulled in all my power, and when you do it, you sort of feel the shift. And I went in, and I found myself literally speaking up confidently, participating as me. I wasn't having to fake it to make it. I wasn't having to push past anxiety and stress and, oh my God, I've got to say something. You know, nothing. I just felt relaxed, being confident and being me. And it was the first time in my whole life I'd experienced that. It was phenomenal. And then what I also found was that when I poured in the power and held it, and it was at the coffee time, and a bit of networking, which I, in the past, nightmare, right? No, but this time I poured in the power again, and I just went up to a group of people, introduced myself, and they all started talking to me. And again, I could interact so easily with them, but they also were treating me completely differently. I wasn't the invisible woman that I had been in the past, because I was holding the power. They were giving me the attention and the credibility and all of those things that I hadn't had before. I thought, my goodness, this is the key thing that's been missing. Because of all our conditioning, we've been running on empty, allowing all of our power, all that focus to be outside ourselves, which has given out the wrong subtle messages and has put us into this fear state without us realizing it. Yeah. So basically that was then I thought, right, I'm going to have to write this book because if it can change for me, it can change for anyone. And that's an important point to make. If I had always been the breezy extrovert, then who was going to believe that I could make any difference in doing my techniques? But the fact that I was the very quiet, shy, sensitive, deep thinking woman who really spent most of her time being invisible, doing great work and keeping quiet about it, that's who I was. If I can do something that can change the way I feel, then it can help anybody.
Oh, that is lovely.
So that's how the pull back your power concept helps. It's more than help. It's absolutely life-changing. And when you combine that with the changing the conditioning and any other techniques that you're doing, it totally fits in with everything. It explains why a lot of the women's empowerment stuff hasn't really cracked very much, other than very surface level stuff. Because if your subconscious is still running, I'm in danger for my life, you can have as much assertive body language as you like. You're not going to feel different. But when you can switch off that fight or flight, bring the power back, it really does change everything.
Yeah.
So that's it became even more of a mission to get this understanding to people so that they can start doing this.
Thank you so much for sharing. Those are great tips. So with all that you've already achieved and all the wonderful things you've done, I'm curious to know what's next on your journey. So where's your journey taking you? Do you have any kind of like big visions you want to bring to life inside your business, maybe within the next 1 or 2 years? What does the future hold for you?
Oh, definitely. Well, it's really, really two things. My programs that I run for women, following on from the book, that is the female power voice. And this situation where you're in the meeting and people are talking over you or interrupting you, or you can't get a word in edgeways, or you just can't open your mouth. And I've had even women who are CEOs that they feel this.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is teaching them to move the focus around, to get the control, the power in that meeting, so that they are then confident and able to speak up and can hold their presence and their voice in those key situations where it used to drain away from us. Because thinking back, if I had had that knowledge when I was in academia, I may very well still be there. Right? I wouldn't have made the discovery, so it's not a good idea for me to still be there. This was my path, right? But this is the key place where women need to be able to put in that power and hold it. And moving on from that, the next stage is to, by freeing ourselves from all this status quo programming, to enable us to be ourselves, not feel that, or not feel isn't the right word, not be kind of forced to fit ourselves into some default box that isn't us, simply because that's the way it happens to be at the moment, which of course would be a male default. So it's all this changing this programming, being in the power, so that women are able to flourish as themselves without shutting bits of their power down. So that's the one angle of it. But then there's another one of the 2 books that are coming, and one is for men, actually, because there's men, we know they have a lot of challenges with depression, male suicide, and it's the other side of the coin. There's no point empowering the women, you've got to empower the men as well. And if men are still running the same operating system, and so if their ancestral operating system is saying to them, your value is you earning more money than your wife, it's how much you control the women, it's how much you are forceful or whatever. These are the old programs, they're obsolete. And many men, they're not on that page. They're decent modern men who want to have empowered masculine energy, but their subconscious is undermining them as well. And so when the women begin to become truly empowered and are holding their power, they're getting more successful, they're earning more money, if the men's subconscious is feeling, I'm not a man anymore, how do I define myself because my wife earns more than I do, that's going to undermine them. But so all the same principles apply. They can change that understanding to what defines me as a man is what kind of person I am, and am I an inspirational leader? Do I support everyone? Do I encourage people around me rather than pushing them down? And so it's changing those definitions will enable the men to completely thrive in the new energy of the 21st century. So it's just as important. So that's the one book, and then the other one is it's my secret sorceress, I call it, and it's the idea of that women have all our female right brain qualities, which haven't been acknowledged or allowed into the mainstream world, particularly because that's it's the very linear male way, goal orientated. Action, result, and any kind of more organic, more female, more I don't know what the word is, collaborative approach, it isn't acceptable in the benchmark. I know because I've lived it. So it's how to free ourselves from what the things that are telling us we can't do things our way, to make it safe to bring that energy, that female way into the world. Because what we really need is to have a beautiful balance of empowered male and empowered female.
So true.
That's what we're aiming for. So I see this as the big picture of my work.
Wow.
And those are the next steps.
That sounds amazing. So good luck for that. And
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing more of that in the future. So before we go, can you tell our listeners where they can find you online if they want to learn more about you or if they want to work with you?
Well, you can reach me at my website, which is feminineconfidence.com. And also for women who are wanting to pull their power back, I have a Facebook group, which I would love you to come and join me. I do trainings and all kinds of support there. And the group is called Pull Back Your Power. So you can find me there.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for this amazing interview. I really enjoyed talking to you and just seeing how much we are on the same page.
We so are.
Which is amazing. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and talk to you soon.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show. It would mean the world to me because you'd help me reach more entrepreneurs like yourself who would love this show. If you'd like to learn more about creating a widely successful business without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity, make sure to stick around and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And why don't you help me spread the word and share this show with your friends? I'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure your friends will too. Want to continue this conversation, build real relationships, and join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs? Come join my free Facebook community for visionary entrepreneurs. I would love to see you there. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, grab my free brain priming audio file for entrepreneurs and start priming your brain for success in less than 5 minutes each morning. Curious? You can learn more about how this works and download the audio file at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions. Until next time, bye!